I just can't help but take this time out to just share some reflections and some thoughts after a very eventful day. I know, um, yeah, it's already past midnight here. So yesterday was the first opportunity. There have been a lot of firsts this week. I led the first virtual Bible discussion on Monday, which was quite a success. And I know the upcoming week, next Monday, will be even better as we improve upon areas that we saw that needed improvement. But also, yesterday was my first presentation on the topic of the problem of pain and suffering. And it was amazing to see people attend from South Africa, from East Africa, from the US, um, across Africa, and then, of course, outside Africa. People were able to join from so many different churches. And great to see good old friends that I've visited in their different churches in many of my travels. And so it was very special. But I think just reflecting on the topic and just how people resonated with the topic, I think I was really struck by Paul Smith's feedback about the way the presentation had a theological aspect, even a philosophical aspect to it, and then the worldview section of it that ended up, determining how people respond based on their worldview. And so the insight I'm getting there is we spent some time talking about the Christian worldview and what the characteristics are. And because of the different worldviews, different religions respond differently. And so if we find ourselves as Christians not responding the way we should, with compassion, with empathy, to suffering, then there's a big question mark as to if we've really embraced the Christian worldview. I know we talk about our culture as ICOC being very practical, but right here I see a really concrete example of an area where we need to really consider our worldview, individually and corporately. Have we really fully embraced the Christian worldview? And I think I actually have even the slide right here, and I can take advantage of that to just read some highlights of what a Christian worldview is. So the first one is the physical world is real, created out of nothing, ex nihilo, and essentially good. Second worldview, Christian worldview, there exists an unseen spiritual reality, which is not limited to or defined by the physical reality. Human beings are a spiritual aspect. They have a spiritual aspect to their nature. So we're spiritual beings. And so we need to look at life way beyond the physical. The creator of both the physical and spiritual realm is the God who reveals himself in the Bible. Human beings have both a physical and a spiritual nature. The spiritual nature is more essential because it is eternal. That's deep. God is not easily defined, but he can be characterized by certain attributes. God is, for example, is a person, he's love, he's just, he's holy, he's omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. So he has all these attributes. And the Christian worldview continues here. Although all God's creation, including the physical world, is good, evil does exist. Such evil is the result of freedom of will given to created beings and their subsequent decision to use that freedom to rebel, to sin. I know there's a definition of evil being the absence of God or the absence of good, since God is good. Because of God's justice and his holiness, those who choose to rebel against him will ultimately be judged and separated from God for eternity. Then the solution to evil, to sin and its eternal consequences, is provided by God through the atoning substitutionary sacrifice of Jesus Christ. And so I look at this 8-point worldview for Christians, and I'm like, have I fully embraced this? If I fully embrace this, it's going to show. I think there was even a bit more than that. There was one Okay, there was the one on a good worldview, which has to be true, consistent with reality, consistent with what we know to be true from experience. It has to work. Uh, when it answers existential questions like what is my value as a human being, what happens to a person at death, how do we know what is right and wrong, what's my purpose, what's the nature of my relationship. I mean, with the prime reality, so to say. And the worldview causes those who hold to it to be better people than they would otherwise have been if they held to competing alternative worldviews. And so this is such a powerful measure that allows us Christians to ask ourselves, have I fully embraced this worldview, or am I just going through the motions of the Christian life, but without having really internalized the worldview in a way that it transforms from the inside out, like Romans 12 says, to be transformed by the renewal of our mind. So when we embrace this worldview, our minds are renewed, and it results in a different kind of life that is so obvious, and that is way better than any competing alternative worldview. So just some really deeper reflections, and Paul also talked about how suffering and God's mission could be correlated, how God uses suffering to prepare us to accomplish his mission. Maybe from a compassion perspective, empathy perspective. On the other side, he uses suffering probably to prepare people's hearts to think about him and to be ready and to be receptive, so that when the two meet, there is incredible resonance. But to see from a macro sovereign perspective how maybe COVID-19 is playing that role of even renewing the earth, restoring the earth. The streets are empty, planes are all packed, people are in their homes, they can rest more, they can play board games, they can read books. There's something God is doing with this, that there's going to be an amazing regeneration, and we Christians want to be at the forefront to lead whatever God is preparing us for. Just some thoughts I wanted to put down from an amazing day, a day of deep gratitude as I reflect on a life well lived for the past 27 years. Ups and downs, of course, but by and large, the video of my life is just God's grace in abundance. And so I pray that these thoughts bless you, and that you really consider how you're embracing the Christian worldview and how that in turn should impact the way we live. To God be the glory. Talk soon. Love you guys.